Hello. Welcome back. It's going to be a card reading. It's going to be really short, but I feel the need to do one. I've really been feeling the need to do one that's like an hour and a half, or kind of like the usual kind where I say it's going to be 30 minutes and then it's not. That's wanting to come out, but I'm not in the space yet to do a longer card reading. So I'm going to take 3 off the top of the Starseed Oracle. I'm going to do 3 from the Ethereal Visions, and then I'm going to do 3 from the Pink Tarot to clarify these ones. And I'm going to talk about my quantum hypnotherapy session, but not yet. I'm still integrating from that. It's been one of the biggest openings and transformations that I've had in a single sitting, if not the biggest. Very, very cool. But it takes a while to integrate that because there's a lot at play. It's not just the conscious mind. It was something of a multi-tiered, oh, that was interesting. That candle just went out. Multi-tiered consciousness experience so that I remember in detail everything that happened. But you get a recording at the end of the session, and I listened to it back just once. Oh my gosh, my other candle went out too now. I'm gonna move this one to the center to restore balance. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I'm going to do this reading. I'll decide after if I want to post it or not. Look at that, Death and the Wheel of Fortune. Because I'm still simmering and settling. It's the type of thing where you listen to the recording back and it's like, wait, I don't actually remember that part. So that's very interesting because I'm going to be listening to it once more in November and then twice in December to fully process it. But the experience of doing this session, I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that I recalled during it because it's truly incredible. And then, that happened on Monday. So it's almost a week ago, but every single day that passes, I'm like remembering different things. I've been having interesting dreams. I wake up in a full psychic download. I will share yesterday the one I woke up to. Some type of psychic download. I saw my chakra system and I saw ideas in my mind, and I understood that in order to determine if things resonate with me and my idea system, like if it's a choice, if it's an option, if it's an idea, if it's just whatever it is, if it's a person, there's a need to bring the conception, the understanding mentally down through all the chakras and feel it pass its way through the energy centers and understand if something resonates on a very comprehensive energetic level rather than just trying to think the way through the thing. It's very cool. I've been looking up at 111, 222, and then there was 333. That's another thing that's just been like exceedingly overwhelming to me is that since this session, my synchronicities, it's like I'm back in Italy in like Snow White mode. But just deeply, deeply exhausted. Like everywhere I turn, just magic. Beautiful. Type of thing where I'm like, I don't even want to go outside. I feel so aligned and balanced, but it makes me feel overwhelmed and I want to acclimate to that. So I've been hermiting. Been wearing this comfort smock for like 4 days. Don't judge me. I haven't washed it. I wake and I sleep in the comfort smock. It's just where I'm at. All right, let's get right into it. Current energy is the 8 of Wands, fast forward motion, communication, idea. There's no person here. It's already on its way. It's happening regardless if we do something or not. Energy to embrace is the 4 of Swords. Energy to release is the High Priestess. There she is again. Yeah, I mean, energy to embrace. I just said I'm not leaving the house right now. I'm definitely in like a inner space. energy to release the High Priestess. So we're just going to go right down the row. Ten of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles clarifying the Eight of Wands in the current. Knight of Pentacles clarifying the Four of Swords in the embrace. The Hermit clarifying the High Priestess in the release. Double mission. Starseed. Lightworker. Serve the world by being you. You won't be able to see these. I'll put these here for now. Number 2, I remember. Soul plan. The fated life versus the destined life. Star brothers. Orus energy. Protection. Loyalty. Safety. And trust. Okay, so I'm getting moved to read from Double Mission and I Remember, Star Brothers, Orus. Maybe I'll read from all 3. I think that's the equitable and respectful thing to do, but let's just start. And I'll pop it up into the middle. Lightworker starseeds are mission and purpose oriented. Many have the feeling that time's running out and there's something they came here to do, create, or contribute. They're here to grow as souls individual mission, and also to contribute to the planet in some action-oriented way, collective mission. Their collective mission is often answered through a career calling or by devoting their life to something bigger. Until they remember their collective mission, it can feel as if something's missing or that they're forgetting something important. It's common for lightworker starseeds to feel that they're different and that they carry soul memories of being visible or sharing their voice. As such, they may protect themselves by dimming their light in order to fit in or by spending time in some sort of closet, such as a spiritual closet. If you pull this card, you're being called to remember your collective mission and step into it even more fully. You're being reminded that your role as a light worker is to light up the world with your presence. This doesn't have to be great big things or decisions that you need to make. You also don't need to have a great big plan. If you resonate with being a light worker, all you need to do is work out what lights you up, your passions and joys, and keep doing that. When you trust and follow the simple path of things that light you up and then lose yourself in the doing, you'll light up the world without even trying. Yeah. I sense in the collective, there's a lot of people who are being moved to a space that feels profoundly desperate because the universe is pulling on them harder than it ever has to redirect them into something that, like it said, career, soul mission. Yes, but that feels like it's this abandonment of things that resemble stability or a certain way of doing things. And I sort of think that, like the card says, there's this way to integrate more of our passionate, like taking creative, passionate time seriously, not needing to have your entire schedule be devoted to certain things in order to redirect the creative energy for the purpose of your lightwork mission. The energy that you spend on doing those creative things, it has a big reward in an inner way. And even if you don't show anybody what you're doing, your guidance system, your support spiritually will move in your life and around you and in your mind and through you to help you continue bringing that to the surface in a way that ends up being seen or received by others, even if that's not how it starts. So the desperation is about feeling like to merge like this private thing or this calling or this thing that there's not a place for it to land or merge. There's an active need to start pulling in more components of a creative. I mean, creative just because a lot of people, I think, who do have light work missions end up being in creative practices or have some type of creative gift, but it also could be interpersonal or healing in nature or, I mean, whatever. I genuinely think that with a lot of the different kinds of stigmas and things in the spiritual community, that there's a lot of ways to show up and be a person who is actively changing and raising the vibration of other people. there's infinite ways to do that. And it's not about deciding that you're like that or not. It's about knowing who you are. And if that is how you are, then being okay with that and knowing that whatever it is that you choose to do with that energy inside of you, it will be of benefit. But when we feel like it has to be done a certain way or at a certain time or in a certain capacity in order to be real or be meaningful, then we're putting limitations on our ability to let those things start to show us how they're going to take us forward. I remember. This one's big for me right now. There was a moment before you were born when you chose the conditions of the life you're living right now, when you plotted out these exact moments along the timeline of your life. We live in a world of free will, and therefore these moments become our destiny only through saying yes. The fated life is the one we're born into. The destiny life is the one our soul chooses, and it takes courage and faith. If you pull this card, it's because you're likely now face to face with the choice to follow the destiny life over the fated life. To trust the path your soul is calling you toward, and to remember that this moment was prearranged on your life's timeline. You may find yourself at a crossroads, at a moment when you're being called to make a decision, to keep walking the perfectly laid out path before you, or choose the one less traveled. You may be facing a change of career, a new relationship, a difficult decision, or something else that requires courage and faith. You're being invited to remember your soul's greater plan and to surrender to it. When you're confronted with a path that's undefined, it's normal for doubt to rear its head. In fact, this is a certain sign that you're facing your soul's greater plan. Every hero in his or her life journey comes eye to eye with doubt. The only way around it is through it. It's all part of the larger plan. What are you being called to do to surrender to your soul's plan? Before I started this reading, I was thinking about how the energy in the collective does feel like it's very liminal spacey, and it's almost like all the readings I do, within reason, every so often, every few weeks, we're in a liminal space again. Has like our whole world just gone into being caught between things? No, it's just that this year, 2023, is a deeply transformative year. It's a deeply transformative year for the collective and for anybody. For people who I think would be like naturally drawn to the videos that I record, you're already on some type of transformative type of journey. And so when you think about, I don't want to use that diagram, think about things that are evolving together, but at different rates, at different speeds, kind of the fractal-like nature of the way that the higher realms are immersed in what's transpiring on Earth. You can be at a certain point where this change is just as big in your life as it is for other people's lives, but it's going to look individualized based on that level of former preparation for the types of things that are shifting now. And so when it comes to the liminal space energy, it's uncomfortable. There's been multiple passages throughout this year, 2023, where we're just kind of sitting and waiting again somehow. Not that we're not moving, it's almost the dichotomy that has made for this like energetically nauseous, disorienting energy. Having to move a lot and do a lot of things while still being in a space of feeling like with Wheel of Fortune energy, which has been, did I pull that? No, it came out with when I was shuffling. Not necessarily waiting, but trusting and not knowing in the way that we're used to knowing. That's the biggest blessing of all, because what we can tend to do is inject our desire for knowing into a situation as if we know. That's artificial. When we do that, we get shown, wait, you didn't actually know, here's why, and then things take a turn. So there's been a lot of points throughout this year where it makes better sense for us to try to sit within the discomfort of not having certain answers so that we can let things take their shape and then move into the space that's left behind to do what it is that we then feel moved to do. And that's a very watery process, in that it's not going to stay still. Once you move into the space, again, with like there being no end or beginning, it's really the nature of transformation. It also, funny analogy, makes me think about when you're looking for a place to move, not necessarily if you are selling a house and buying a house, but as a renter in an apartment, you can't look like, if I want to move in April and it's November, I'm not going to be even seeing the listings that are available until right before they're on. You know, I can't like go tour places now because they're going to get snatched up. The move-in date, nothing aligns. It's this perfectly timed thing of not necessarily waiting because you want to always be putting your energy towards what's in front of you, but it's this deconstructing of how the timeline, it's like, it's okay. I'm also getting a message about how a lot of people are going through really big shifts that are really, really promising right now to liberate different parts of themselves that have always been channeled into things that make you feel like you're using your abilities, but there's some other like new container for those abilities that's where they always belonged. But a lot of the collective, a lot of people who do identify with the term lightworker, starseed, if you're just a gifted person who's into using your personal mission to help elevate the consciousness of others and assist in the global awakening, it's like the passage that you've been through has been something of a conditioning, like a boot camp, to be able to kind of rove around it's a self-discovery passage, rove around your own talents, gifts, and abilities to then be able to take them into the arena. 2024. So the liminal space feeling, it's not because we're stuck, right? We're not like clogged into the quantum timeline divergence, and it's not because we're not properly anchoring in the timeline that we want to manifest and live, both individually and collectively. It's more so because there's so many different things. I think about the train car again, and kind of humanity like pulling away from this wreckage and being able to have a less dense body that will move more quickly through space and time. I mean, really what this is on a cosmic level, our little planet, our little human race, we're being initiated into a different part of our own existence where we're understanding that we're connected to a lot of forces that have sway and influence on Earth, but that our conscious understanding of our own human history hasn't allowed for the collective to be aware of. And it's something where a lot of people, if you do resonate with Lightworker Starseed, a lot of people already have consciously multidimensional existences. So not just like, oh, I had a really vivid dream. Like you know that you can and you do access other parts of the quantum field of interconnectedness that defy a human person's singular 3D vantage point on how to experience the passage of time and life and what it means to be a human. There's a lot of people who are already very fourth density and more, allowing for like the majority of what needs to go with the light body train that pulls away from the wreckage to go. So pulling back that message into the first thing about the creative stuff and just taking a little bit of time here and there, even if it feels so trivial, that's actually packing the car. That's gonna, you're fueling, like, it's all connected. Doesn't matter who you tell, doesn't matter who sees you moving differently, thinking and feeling differently. There's something really beautifully intimate between our individual selves, minds, and spirits and the universe. It's a one-on-one, right? But we're all having that one-on-one, and therefore it's very collective. That's really lovely, that energy, because it's like, there's a loneliness, but don't forget that it's quite special. The only reason why it feels lonely is because there's a uniqueness to what you're doing, what you can do, and who you are, that's to be celebrated. And if it hasn't been celebrated yet for you in your life in the way that there's a part of you that yearns for that, just know that it's coming. Part of you moving in the direction of it blindly is because you don't need the validation to understand that it's worth it and that it's worthwhile. All right, I'm going to read from this one now. It says, Star Brothers, Orus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. You're more protected than you can imagine. It's safe to open the back of your heart. You're being called to be open to receiving a new level of support now from those in your life and from the benevolent beings you're connected with. Through ancestral patterning, current life traumas, and past life karmic impressions, many of us have become mistrustful and suspicious of loyalty and have blocks when it comes to receiving support. We've learned that we need to go at life alone, that it's not safe to let our guard down and open our hearts, that the world isn't a friendly place. The Star Brothers want you to have a new experience of life on Earth. They want you to feel deeply secure and safe, even if you're going through a difficult time. They want you to hand over your fears to them, to see them as opportunities to let in more love. They're guiding you to stay open to receiving a greater level of support than you can ever imagine, both in this world and beyond. To call in your team of loyal protectors and supporters, both physically and energetically. They want you to learn to soften through life's ups and downs and to learn to open your heart, especially when it most wants to harden. How can you open yourself up to receiving more support? Yeah, so I'm going to talk about what I described earlier in the summer as missing time experiences, times when I didn't quite understand what had happened to me and my memory was gone and I didn't really have any closure or clarity on it, but it does have to do with benevolent extraterrestrial beings. Not this video, but coming soon, because I want to be able to sit down when my mind is right and I've kind of finished the integration around what happened during my session and just run through all of it. But for me, the fear of not knowing what happened to me or what is the explanation for certain things or memories or feelings and all sorts of stuff. I haven't wanted to collaborate with those energies because I associate them with the unknown. And I've done a really big clearing around that, the unknown, because now I know. Now I know. The unknown is very scary, especially when, my fear of this is lavender and cedar. My fear of aliens, they don't want to be called that, by the way, it's ET, extraterrestrial beings, being watched. It's my oldest fear. It's my greatest, oldest fear, and I wasn't really taken seriously as a child because I don't think people really understood how real it felt to me, but then also becoming a young adult to the point where I just kind of stopped talking about it because, these days you're just a little crazy person and stuff. And then I have got a whole bunch of stuff wrapped around that axle around how I'm perceived by others, my own sanity levels and all that. So it's a lot to unpack and integrate. The good news is I'm not crazy. I didn't think I was, but it's just a lot. So for me, the collaboration, it's a huge deal to be able to say, I understand what this is. I want to collaborate with you, my ET family. People who resonate with that will resonate with it. The people who don't, won't. I'm going to go into all of that. I'm going to talk a lot about extraterrestrials and a bunch of stuff in the video when I talk about the session, but also just going forward because I removed the block that I had around not wanting to know. So a lot of information just through channel and also the things that I've been remembering have opened up a lot with that for me. But okay, so it also said, the description of this Star Brothers card, it said, open the heart through the back. What I think about when I hear that is how the chakras are through and through. There's a lot of physical pain right now. the energy is so weird. I expect that people are having certain kinds of aches and pains where they're like, there's jokes about hitting your 30s where like you used to be able to, have a million drinks, do a bunch of drugs, whatever you want, wake up, be fine the next day. And now it's like you have one drink and you're like, oh my, like suffering. It's just the nature of like, right, aging or whatever in the body and these newfound aches and pains. But it's like that. It's like each day that passes, it's like, what is this? What is this? These sensations, these little things. Opening the heart through the back though, right? Back pain, it can be related to blocked chakras. It's not like, the chakra, if you have a solar plexus block about willpower, self-confidence, sense of self, that inner sun, self-worth and confidence. Did I just say that? Yeah, I might have just said the same words twice. But I think the majority of the time that will result in back pain instead of, some type of internal organ pain or something. I think the back being our column and the spine, being this thing that goes from the root all the way up, much more likely to feel that pain in the back. So when we are opening ourselves to receiving support from the non-physical energy that surrounds us, that we get signs and synchronicities from, back to that one-on-one, like this is about you and the universe. It's about you and your truth, regardless of what's been said or what's been done or what's known or what's hidden. It's about you and the universe. And I feel like we're being led through these junctures and our body is kind of showing us where our attention is needed in order to kind of clear, right? When you have a pain, or I think about somebody who overexhausts themselves and then they're in bed and they have to rest and they're sick because they didn't take the time out that they needed. It's like if you don't honor your bodily cues and change things, then you'll get to a point where you have no choice but to do that. And when you have a certain pain, it becomes something that you're aware of. And so I think what we're becoming aware of is the desire to unite things. We want our energy to flow. I mean, maybe that's not the conscious thought on the forefront of our mind day in, day out, but really that's what we want. It would be great if I could do all this active stuff and feel no pain in my body at all. It would be great if I could, I don't know, fill in the blank. Whatever it is that you want, it has to do with a level of ease and streamlinedness, which is becoming a little bit more available because we're collectively manifesting blocks out of the system, collectively manifesting the release of certain blocks. And so something that accompanies this like weird liminal space energy, like if you're cognizant of some type of stuff moving through, you know what you're trying to release and work on and whatnot. The collective energy too, like we can be on that personal journey, but then we can go out and still feel weird about whatever. I don't know, just being around people as an empath or like a highly sensitive person, and then kind of being, I don't know, just a sense of recoiling that is brought on by feeling overstimulated or overwhelmed by the collective energy or just being out in public or being around people. So when we clear, when you release things from the body energetically, you have to fill that space. You have to fill that space with white light, whatever kind of light you want, whatever kind of, if you're not a visual person or can call on different kinds of energies, or you don't have any clairaudient, clairvoyant experience, white light at least white light. I like to kind of embellish because the visualization of what it is that's happening makes it really real for me so that I can feel and see things. I mean, over time, certain things just look the way they look. For example, during my session, I worked a lot on my knees. I have chronic knee pain and I have for my whole life, basically. But it's this bright, it's not really any of these blues. It's like this color. It's a cobalt. It's a glowing cobalt blue. That is the color of light that I need to put into my knees when I feel the blocks there. Excuse me. And so I would encourage people to make it more specific than white light. But as a baseline, white light will always be an unconditional loving light to bring in, to fill a space that you release something from. But because there is this timeline divergence in the collective right now, strongly, as we collectively release, we are pulling in the things that belong, or like filling the void in the body, right? When you release a block and you put white light in to replace it. And if you are doing certain things around the body, you're trying to work with like aches and pains, you imagine it, and it doesn't necessarily go away quickly. Sometimes you have to breathe. Sometimes you have to, for instance, my knees, I'm not cured one and done. I simply understood a different way to work with the block that I have there. That's a block that's been carried for generations in my bloodline. So it's part of my physical makeup in some ways, but this is why when we talk about, energy healing, quantum healing, medical intuitive energy healing, like I truly believe it's the future of medicine, because you're doing surgery, really. You're restructuring the way that the energy flows in that space. And just like, with emotions being the root of actions, the energy flow of the body is what can create, blockages or overabundance of cell growth, tumors, all these things. It's within the conscious connection to the body, and like those like micro moments, but it doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to have an understanding of the perfect anatomical situation at hand. What you do know is exactly how it feels. You know exactly how what you're feeling feels. And I think we're coming out of collectively, we're coming out of a certain level of dissociation, potentially from the body, but also, what does that mean? A lot of the things that people are releasing, like from the body, they all have emotions and memories connected to them. And I've been trying to wrap up this one thought the whole time. It's like, so when we as people bring in, I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but like hope, like a new idea that can keep pushing the ball down the road, as far as these, what I said before, creative abilities, things that we've wanted to do, being able to imagine a new way for ourselves to interact with the world based on some of the deeply profound, personal, transformative shifts that have happened in 2023. It's like that is filling the white light in for the collective. There's a lot of people who are just waiting to be healing agents in the collective, or practitioners, like thousands and thousands of people, probably millions of people. Sometimes I get shocked when I think about percentages, right? And again, my first exposure to anything about starseeds and stuff, it was a long time ago. And I started off by learning about like indigo children and stuff, and then starseeds. It's like there's small amounts of the population that are gonna resonate with this information, but the population's pretty big. So even if it's 1%, that ends up being lots and lots and lots of people. And yeah. So let's talk about this just a little bit more. We're going to do a little sandwich. So we're going to get 3 more cards just so I can kind of just reignite this spread, because we got off on the Starseed Oracle. Okay, 6 of Cups in current energy. Energy to embrace. 5 of Wands. Energy to release. Ace of Pentacles. All right. Embrace, release, current. All right, so the 8 of Wands, the 6 of Cups, and the 10 of Pentacles. With the current energy, it feels like there's multiple things happening at once. And it's almost like, I don't know, I'm getting this visual of a busy household on a holiday, maybe Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving's coming up and the holidays in general, but it's like I'm seeing or the scene from Garden State with Zach Braff when he's at the party and he's sitting on the couch and it's a time lapse and everybody's zooming around him. So, but for the holiday, it would be like things you can hear, like pots and pans and like the faucet and the oven door closing and opening and kids laughing and somebody rolling dice and the firewood shifting in the fire. There's just this ambient cacophony of stuff in our lives, and I believe that you could express it to the different domains of life, like career, social, personal, and then like health and spiritual, financial, emotional, and relational. We've got this spread here where we've got the pentacles, the wands, the cups. What's not here is swords. And the current energy, again, like full house, things happening. This is a positive energy that we find ourselves in, but there's not a whole lot of other room. With Six of Cups, it's a soulmate energy. It's a nostalgia energy. It's an energy of connection, of like stopping to smell the roses, and a fondness. 10 of Pentacles is our stability, and we're going to get into energy to embrace, energy to release with the way that the Pentacles reappeared, because we have Pentacles in both of those positions. But the Eight of Wands being this initial card for the current energy, get a clarifier from the bottom of the deck. Well, I'll say what I'm going to say first before we get this clarifier, but it's almost like I don't want to say anything. It's not just like sit back, wait and see, because we're very much part of emotion that's taking place within our own lives right now. And I think it has to do with taking all the puzzle pieces out and putting them back in a different order. This is something annoying about, like, if you're doing a puzzle and there's these two pieces that, like, it's not the right fit, but you just put them together, that's going to mess up the whole puzzle. Those pieces aren't supposed to go together, even though it's, you can make it go, it's just not quite right. There's a few pieces within the way that we've been doing things for a little while where it's like, I mean, I always knew. It also makes me think about, like, I had some weird moment of clarity in 2020. I was doing a lot of house cleaning because of the pandemic, and I was like, I'm just going to make this most sparkly, effervescent, magical place to live because I'm always here. I didn't have any problem with that. I like being a homebody. But it dawned on me, I was like, it kind of seems like every time I've ever gone to clean something, I sort of just half-ass it. Like, what if I really scour? Like the stove, or, I would leave like little bits behind because I was just mostly touching it up, just kind of cleaning, But what if I was on my hands and knees and this little piece of quarter round on the bottom of my baseboards, like, actually make it spotless? It's not that there's anything wrong with doing a little touch up of a cleaning, but when you do that your whole life, eventually the dirt that you never touched, if you always wipe the middle and the sides, the dirt will build up on those other areas. And so there's a certain amount of like behaviors or realizations akin to that. I'm making examples out of things all the time. So just interpret it how you will, if it makes sense to you. But it's like there's certain activities or like ways of being or ways of thinking where they were just misfit puzzle pieces, and we can go back and clean them more fully. And it's like, I mean, it takes half a second longer, each swipe of the sponge or the paper towel or whatever you're using. It just takes half a second longer for each one to be complete, to be whole, to be done in a way, not like the right way, but I know better. It's just me alone in my house cleaning. So just as, equally, it's just me who suffers from seeing a dirty corner or benefits from seeing a clean one. This is the type of, like, all this feels very personal right now. And again, with like Zach Braff, if you haven't seen the movie Garden State, it's one of my favorite movies. I've just always loved it. And, well, that's not true. I haven't always loved it. I saw it for the first time about 11 years ago, and a special person showed it to me, and I've loved it ever since then. So if you really must know, that's the reality of it. But he's sitting on the couch and he's alone. And that whole movie, by the way, does a very good job of illuminating somebody's inner world who's kind of withdrawn. And then the full house again, like knowing that there's a lot going on around you, but not being a part of it because you're on a different orbit, or like a different, what's it called? Metronome. Speed. The clarifier from the bottom. Yeah, a different speed, you see? Slow. Knight of Pentacles. So it's like, that's contradictory. The Eight of Wands moves very quickly. The Knight of Pentacles moves slowly. But I'm not quite sure that Ten of Pentacles in this position is like all about having the stability. It's about trusting that we're stable. It's kind of what I always talk about when I talk about the present moment. And like, really, it's hierarchy of needs stuff. If you're stressed long term, you're thinking about something Pentacles related, like, how am I gonna make this happen, and it's 3 months out or even 3 weeks out, you're putting worry into the timeline if it hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's very hard to do this because of modern day adulting and needing to plan and other people involved and stuff. You can't simply say like, well, do I have what I need right now? Great, then I'm just going to ignore all that. It's very hard to do that, but to be honest, there's a whole lot of benefit in, to the extent that you're able to, being able to detach from any semblance of not having stability for the time being, and only validate the ways in which you are stable, because the more you do that, that is what leads to full, comprehensive stability on all fronts. Not out of neglect, but not out of neglecting the things that aren't currently stable, but not trying to, it's almost like the puzzle pieces that have to come out and we put them back in. We have to do that first. If you're over in a different part of the puzzle, I mean, all those pieces are going to come out anyway. So foundationally, it's like, are we okay right now? What can we do right now to make this situation a little more okay as we move slowly? Even though ideas, creative potential, people talking to you, you wanting to talk to others, the connective, the rate of connection is sort of out of step with the rate of advancement. But that's okay. So with the energy to embrace, well, I'm going to put this guy here because that one came out third. First was the Four of Swords. Then we had the Knight of Pentacles. Oh, great. There he is again. So you see, it's a double Knight of Pentacles. With the Four of Swords energy, it's not inactive, because I'm seeing it as me during my hypnotherapy session, lying here. There was so much happening during that time. And I'm making and drawing by hand my own tarot card deck. It's going to take a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. I started doing it maybe 2 weeks ago or something. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have it done by the full moon. on the 28th. I'm going to put all the cards out under the moon, hope it doesn't rain. Like, I was really excited to kind of just, but it's a big project. It's going to take time. I'm open to that. Why am I talking about it? Because the Hermit card, there's no rhyme or reason to how I'm, decorating them. It's completely channeled artwork. I'm trusting everything. Like, I am a Rossian in practice, a Bob Rosser. And I mean, not that I learned to paint from Bob Ross or anything, but the whole happy accident thing, that's a big deal because it's obviously a metaphor for life. But, I'm using these paint markers and sometimes they explode and there's a big blob on the card and I don't have any extras. I don't have any redos, There's the specific amount of cards I need every single one of them. So when there's a big blob, I'm like, okay, we're gonna moosh it out. We're gonna make it look like something. We're gonna roll with it. Because that's life and that's art. And yes, with the Hermit card, for my major arcana, I'm not really doing a whole lot of figurative stuff, if any. It's very much color and shape and abstract, but kind of just the way that I doodle. It could look, molecular, or it could look celestial, kind of a micro macro thing going on. In the Hermit card, it shows these, the design isn't done yet, but I started working on it this morning, and it's something of it almost resembles the Mandelbrot fractal, but it's symbolic for me. In my deck, it will be symbolic of emotional inner alchemy. What happens when you're quiet inside, when you're alone, when you go within. Now, I know this isn't the Hermit. I know this is the Four of Swords, but that's where my thoughts went. So in current energy, even if there is, here we go, slow and still, there's still a lot happening and it's not visible. I think what is visible is the need to start to identify like where these little pieces need to come out from in order to kind of put things back in a way that fully lays flat. You want to run your hand over the surface of the puzzle. How annoying would it be to feel a little edge that's off? So we are slow and still, but there's a lot going on spiritually and emotionally and internally. And then what else? Like little conflicts and stuff. Again, I always think about the water rolling off of the duck's back. But another thing that I'm getting here is that it's like oil and water. These things don't mix. The petty conflicts, the arguments, it's in the embrace position. So I'm hearing the same thing. We'll get a clarifier from the bottom of the deck for this. But for me, it's like, look, he's just totally chilling. He's also chilling. He's chilling in a different way than this Knight of Pentacles. But they're both, in most, I think, depictions of Knight of Pentacles, they're looking out. They're not in a rush. They're going where they're going and they'll get there when they get there. He's not going anywhere, but he's all suited up, full knight's armor. And those two things they're coexisting with these little things. So back to, if this is energy to embrace, we can still be in whatever energy we need to be in when it comes to our slowness, our own mental deconstructing of the stuff that's floating through our, our worlds right now, our dreams, our days. We're at the mercy of the speed of that, which is, I'm thinking that it's kind of quick, but we're allowed to process it at the rate we need to. And it's like oil and water to the stuff outside of us, particularly with other people. And it brings me back to what I was saying with like, I personally just get into a place where I'm like, I feel very, very aligned and magical and like with it, but like I need to protect that and like make sure I anchor what it is I'm going through before I head back out there. It's like I'm taking a pause from my normal life. Very, 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 very lucky that my actual schedule has allowed for me to do this. It was actually like, fated and synchronistic. I didn't try to push things off. Things got pushed off and now I've got time. That's what I wanted. Here you go. The clarifier on the bottom is the world. So this card is the last one, right? The Fool is the beginning of the major arcana. The world is the end. The journey is complete. There's a huge understanding of what it is that we've been doing, I think, for some time. I wrote about this in the post that I did. I can't remember. I've been posting a lot of memes and writing a lot of things. Thanks for bearing with me with the memes. That just means that I've been in bed a lot. I'm posting a lot of memes. I'm surprised nobody's unfollowed me yet for that. I just see a lot of good ones. Yeah, the world. So, I mean, bigger energy than any of the petty conflict. It's like, it doesn't matter. But there's a need to remember that if it's not like oil and water, I see the whisk, it goes so fast, the little globules, they get smaller and smaller. They never quite mix, right? The little hurricane, it makes the little oils, the little smaller, but it's still separate. Those are not going to become one homogeneous fluid because they can't. And to that extent, it's like you will never be able to process the things that are going on inside of you while you're out there doing things. I mean, sure, there are these tandem things where we are going through different passages of integration and we see something, you know, in the flesh, like a dynamic that our therapist mentioned or something, and you're like, oh, you're doing it, you know, or whatever. I don't know. But this energy, this closeout, this personal stuff that we're going through, it's just bigger than any of the stuff that's going on with like the people. And so I'm going to move on. Yeah, okay, energy to release. The Hermit, the High Priestess, and the Ace of Pentacles. So I'm going to do the same thing and get a clarifier from the bottom of this deck. But the High Priestess and the Hermit, right? It's almost like in direct response to what I've been talking about. Go outside. Go talk to people. Don't stop being in your little High Priestess world. No. I will not. Why? Because the energy to embrace is still very much Four of Swords. I'm recalibrating, right? That kind of cacophony. I feel it. I hear it. I'm not ready. But this isn't about me. This is collective. So when we're releasing the High Priestess again, it's like, I believe that we're going to wake up one day, maybe next week, maybe the week after, maybe the week after that, but there's going to be some big shift where we're like, I feel like my intuition is stronger. That's going to happen soon. We don't have to take a time out in order for that to be happening. I'm taking a time out in order for that to be happening. Collectively, I don't think we need to. Why is the Ace of Pentacles here? Because mind, body, spirit is something of a, do you know about the Merkaba? Light crystals. So the actual structure of light crystals, or things that are spinning to generate energy, let's just say that. It's like we're toggling, or even the backs of these cards in these shapes here. Connection points, and it's like we experience these different shifts and they affect us on every level, mind, body, soul. And when it comes to soul, there's just many layers. And when it comes to mind, there's many layers. When it comes to body, there's many layers. So again, with like the fractal and the movement, the shifting that's taking place right now on this more spiritual level, I see this too. It's like the two Knights of Pentacles, this more inactive thing, and then they're prefacing like this new material beginning. in the release position, I'm feeling like we're just needing to allow without so much expectation about timing, like when things are, if it's right, if it's wrong, if it feels good, if it doesn't, just sit down on the couch and let the, you know, the turkey go into the oven and they're playing Yahtzee and whatever's happening. It's like on Thanksgiving Day too, who cares what time it is, you know? People start drinking at 10 a.m. and we're eating at 2, and it's a liminal space again of a holiday, or like anything goes. And so personally, I feel like we have the ability. Well, hello, darling. We have the ability to give ourselves a little bit of positive expectation around whatever it is that we're like amplifying in our future timelines. Like really, really, really think about what you want and why you want it. And immediately, maybe you have ideas about what's standing in the way of that, why you can have it, why you can't have it. Look at all of that and, you know, challenge what needs to be challenged and reason things through with yourself. And at the end of the day, I believe you should be left with this space or this understanding where you're allowed to have what you want. You're allowed to create what it is that you'd like to create. And what I'm talking about right now with like the intuition, I think that we're going through some type of collective spiritual upgrade. My cat doesn't actually like to be held, so it's very confusing to me when she comes to me for, now she's stuck. Oopsie. Well, I can't do anything for you, baby. That's on you, honey. You got yourself stuck on it. Okay. Big opening with the intuition, and part of this just has to do with what's happening in the higher realms right now for Earth, which is very good and positive. But it's like all of this energy, all of this light coming into these vessels that aren't, you know, its expansion is rigorous. That's why, again, I'm seeing like mind, body, soul on their many levels moving quickly. It's jarring. There is some restructuring of our intuition and our ability to know ourselves more deeply than like I think we ever have. Truly, truly as we are for who we are. And in a way that forgives the parts of ourselves that we haven't liked as much. Or the parts of ourselves that we never really accepted. There's like a knowing of ourselves that's coming in, and we can release the parts of ourselves that we don't want to, you know, keep guilt and shame over. That's not to say they were never real or true, but you don't have to keep the emotions that attach to them. That's all going to set us up for a new material beginning. I feel like there's something I didn't finish. Oh yeah, I mean, so just thinking about releasing the High Priestess and the Hermit, I was talking about the Hermit card that I'm making in my deck, and it's inner emotional alchemy and like what takes place when you're in Hermit mode. Don't force that. Know that it's happening. High Priestess is watching over it, that process, and it will give way to something new that we want, but I'm still seeing it with the energy to embrace. I'm still seeing it as being a very liminal space. I mean, I would say something else if I had something else to say. Clarifying that. Oh, yeah. Tower. It's destabilizing. Clarify that from the top of the deck. The Emperor. It's destabilizing for a reason. The universe doesn't just rattle your cage because it likes hazing people. The movement of energy is actually quite neutral if you think about it. The things that we perceive as being very, very bad and very, very good that happen to us personally, and I think it always perpetually has to do, if you think about molecules of air, right? They will spread if you release a gas into another container that has a different kind of gas particle. It will move until they're all, equidistant. They move through a space to reach equilibrium. That's what the energies in our own lives are doing constantly. They're trying to reach a state of equilibrium, and we have free will and we suppress that or we allow it, and it results in physical, mental, emotional joy, pleasure, or pain in all these different ways when we're the gatekeepers of that energy flow. And the things that are rattling us the most right now, they are for our empowerment. What's the hidden energy? I'm going to do, you trust that, I'll do it over here so you can see. What's the hidden energy within this? I mean, what I heard being said to me from guidance, they're saying there's not a whole lot of hidden energy because, you've got the Hermit, you've got the High Priestess, you've got these things that can, like the Tower, right? This isn't hidden. But what is the hidden energy? The King of Cups and the Knight of Swords. I like this very much because this is all masculine, and the advice with that off the top, the Ace of Wands. That's kind of a masculine card too. I like this because I'm talking about the movement of energy through all things, really being neutral in that it's just particles trying to reach a state of equilibrium. It's things trying to balance out. This can happen, like we're experiencing on Earth right now. This can happen over thousands and thousands of years of energies trying to equal themselves out. They can take as long as they want. There's no limit on time and space. So the Emperor is kind of the King of Kings. The King of Cups brings in that king energy, but from the emotional standpoint, the King of Swords is bringing it in with that intentional, directed motion, clarity of thought and speech. And then we have the Wands too. And I love that because I said we already have, pentacle action going on. So it's, again, with this well-rounded, and I also see it as being somewhat phasal, right? So the Ace of Wands, 1. But then Ascension to Knight, Ascension to King, Ascension to Emperor. It's this building and layering of patience, really. I think sometimes when it comes to being like spiritually patient, it's just not comfortable at all. And the energy to release, Hermit and High Priestess, maybe it's not so much about being patient. It's about knowing where our autonomy actually lies, what our free will has the power to touch within our own lives. I like amoeba shapes and borders. I like organic shapes because if you think about them, moving, back to puzzle pieces again, right? If I was just a triangle, if I was just a square, I'd have a harder time fitting into things. If I'm an amoeba with blurry edges, it sounds very ungrounded. I'll have an easier time accepting the circumstances of my environment because these acute corners that are sharp won't be incongruous with as many factors in my surroundings, in my environment. And so there's a lot of personal strength and knowing oneself in this next passage. And there's a lot of things that we can't change. There's a lot of things that are moving. There's a lot of people involved. There's just stuff going on. And it's not our job to do anything about that. That's the unhealed masculine polarity that wants to force. They want to be, the loudest one, the right one. The most powerful one. The most powerful one knows where the bounds of their power stop. Not because the power it's finite, but because we're connected as people. There's other people involved. I'm going to cut the pink deck. Get a clarifier for that. It's telling me to go all the way to the bottom. Yeah. It's the Eight of Cups. So going somewhere else. I do think that this, what I've been talking about, it's about the new pentacle, like I said, Ace of Pentacles, a new material beginning, or at least our physical environments looking different, reflecting the inner change that's been taking place. But I think in order to really welcome this change in, we have to feel, we acknowledge that we feel differently. We acknowledge that we feel differently about the things that we used to feel a certain way about before. That could be aspects of ourself. From the top. It's the Five of Pentacles. So again, I was saying with the Ten of Pentacles being out in the current energy, I wasn't feeling like it's all about having all of the stability that we want or feel like we need. It's about what not having that stability does to our own consciousness, our intention, what we do, today as a result of that, what we do tomorrow as a result of that. Yeah, I think a commonality that we can talk about between these two cards is being on some sort of journey, being alone. And I know in the Pentacles, Five of Pentacles card, there's two people, classically that are locked out of this church. The Pentacles kind of represent a stained window, looking in from the outside. And it's interesting because the Five of Pentacles, it always makes me think of Christmas night and somebody being, or Christmas Eve, somebody being homeless outside in the snow, in the cold, not having warmth, shelter, food. It's a lack energy. And then here, it's choosing to go on a voyage somewhere else. Choosing a journey of solitude because of a lack of emotional fulfillment. And so with this one, I'm thinking again about a busy household on a holiday and the preparation and the cacophony again. It's a very sensory thing that I'm getting with that because it's engulfing. And there's this thing within us that's not part of that, and it can't be seen. Other people can't see it. It's happening inside. It's happening on our own. What's the biggest advice for dealing with this transit right now? What I just heard in my mind is this: protection, loyalty, safety, trust. The biggest advice would be knowing that you are, again, this is part of your own becoming. It's not a mistake. But let me pull a card for it too. the Five of Cups came out. It's funny. I'm just talking about the Five of Pentacles, Five of Cups. Yeah, I mean, so what's the advice? I would tend to just kind of want to invert this and say, don't sit and hunker down and cry about it. I mean, I'm a crier. I'm fully in support of crying the tears that need to be cried. Where else are they going to go? It's just more so about wallowing this energy, or the energy that we had rather with like Knight of Pentacles, being able to progress things slowly, not needing to necessarily be Hermit, High Priestess, and attaching that to the new Pentacle, because that's all in the release position. It's almost like it's not like a classical reading where it's like that's what we need to release. It's almost like that's not part of our world. It's part of the energy, but we're releasing that to fate, to the universe, to the care of the realm of the unseen, because that realm is very real and it is doing a lot right now it was 11101 when I looked up 1111, doing a lot to help humanity through what it is that humanity is going through. The other thing I'm thinking about the Five of Cups card is that we have so many things that happen to us in our lives that are emotional, and they're really not that big of a deal, you know, when it's all said and done. And just like I said before, I'm a proponent of processing emotions immediately in real time, because if you don't, that's when they start to stagnate and get stuck and create dis-ease within the body. But I mean, we can look at the five. Did I put it back? Yeah. We can look at the Five of Cups as not being, I mean, sure, he's crying, but is this a healthy expression of emotion? Not really, because he's choosing, like, the pain that he feels is because he's seated here, choosing. Maybe he doesn't feel like he can stand up, but at the end of the day, from the outside perspective, us as the viewer, we see these two cups. We see this kingdom. The universe sees, and you could also think of this as you at the end of your life, after you've died and you're looking at all of the stuff that happened. It's like you looking at all your toughest moments saying, if only you had gotten up, if only you had noticed that this was there, if only you had, you know, felt that you were deeply connected to all that you are connected to. It feels like a very well-intentioned cautionary message around not sweating the small stuff, not because it doesn't matter, but because the energy is moving more quickly than it will do to dwell on the spilled milk right now, and also kind of in general. Okay, I don't know how we got to 1 hour and 13 minutes, but I'm glad I did that. I do want to end the reading just because I'm still kind of grounding myself and thinking about stuff, and I've got a lot of just personal stuff going on in a good way. And I got some clarity about how I'm going to do the Barbie breakdown. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting, because you can't rent it. You just buy it. You can only buy it, and it's $20. So they're dangling this, you know, shiny pink thing in front of America, and then when they release it, it's like, to have any access to this, you have to buy it. I think a lot of people did. I did too. I don't want to talk about it. It's for research. I bought it. I bought the stupid movie. But I'd like to do something called a watch along, where I basically, like, I might just plug it into my mini projector and blast it on, you know, the wall, have it playing, and then pause it and talk about it while I'm watching it. So it's going to be a very long video. I actually tried to start doing the Barbie thing last week, and I was 2 minutes and 5 seconds into the movie, and I had already recorded for an hour and 30 minutes talking about what I wanted to talk about. I was like, this is just impossible. If I have watched 2 minutes of the movie and I've already spoken for an hour and a half, I mean, I could do a whole course on Barbie or something, but that's not needed at this point. I just want to purge that from my like pipeline of stuff that I'm trying to get done. Not because I'm over it and I don't want to do it. I still think it's very important, but it's going to be 2 parts. So there's going to be a watch along. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get myself into as far as copyright goes. To be honest, I don't really understand that. If anybody, I mean, I could probably Google it and educate myself just as easily, but if anybody has an idea, please email me and let me know how I could do it, because I've been thinking about it. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to talk about it, like, and prompt people so that they can watch. Like, I'll tell people, you're going to pause at, you know, 6 minutes and 5 seconds. You'll pause at 13 minutes and 11 seconds so that you can watch the movie and pause it and then listen to what I have to say at each point in time. I mean, that's a little even inaccessible. So I was just going to abandon the actual, you know, playing of the movie altogether and include timestamps, but then just take screen grabs of the movie and drop them in like I do when I put an image, like here. But it won't even let me screenshot clips from the movie. If I'm watching the movie on my iPad and I try to take a screenshot, they just all come out black. They're really protecting it. It's very interesting. I'm like, I get copyright, but as a cultural critic in this world, why can't, like, I know I'm not implying that I made this. Like, why can't I comment on it though? So it's evading me. It's being annoying. The Barbie movie is making it hard for me to do that project. But the other part of it is going to be the big thing more so about American culture and celebrity culture and the various stages of the operation, we'll say, as it's been spiraling through space and time for the amount of time that it has been, and how the Barbie is really kind of a capstone on that, and in some ways, and how it was released during the Venus retrograde in Leo in the 1950s and in the 2020s. So yeah, that's it for today. The epiphany around the Barbie thing was that it's going to be 2 parts, and I think it's going to be watch along, and then it's going to be the cultural breakdown. But this reading, you can stop watching now. I'm just talking. You can end the video if you want. I'm just rambling. There's no more information to be had. The next video I do, though, will be talking about the quantum healing hypnotherapy session. It's very important. I said I wasn't going to do a long reading, but I'm yearning to do a long reading, and here I did one, so that's good. Yeah, now I have a lot of ideas and a lot of stuff going on over here, but it's just, it doesn't matter right now. I don't have to talk about it. I'm going to be doing things differently, but when that happens, it'll just be happening. I don't have to set anybody up for it. Nobody cares. And if you do, thank you. That's nice. Okay. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. And I hope that anything, you know, from the reading was able to help you feel a little bit better if you're not. And November is going to be really beautiful. November and December are beautiful months this year. There's a lot of really amazing potentials around self-discovery and feeling more aligned with ourselves and our ability to move through the world in the way that we were born to. So, okay, bye.